Even as a child, my mom used to get worried because as I would eat, I would hum. And it's so funny that the two things that I'm most passionate about today are food and music. And so even back then, as I was nursing, I would be humming, and mom would be like, well, if she's humming, that means her throat is open. We need to get this girl to stop making sounds while she's eating. I think for me, it really became present when I realized that I had stopped singing. So I was going through my early 20s. I just moved to Toronto, came down here with the intention to be a recording artist. Moved to Toronto, lived the big dream. And once I got here, I got so caught up, I think, in just the day-to-day of survival. But I also recognized that there was so much trauma that I had not dealt with. Part of my mission is to create a new world, a new earth, where no one has to feel like that. Create community and culture where no matter your past experience, you know that here you're safe. Here it's safe to be you, as you, to come express in whatever way that expression is, even if it's beyond the voice, and how you dress and how you move. I have a similar story. I was working in Jordan in the Middle East during the first year of COVID in 2021. And we were next door to a mosque. And when I first arrived, this prayer woke me up every morning. And I was so frustrated at this sound. And when I sang again for the first time, this was really only 4 years ago, I sang for the first time again in front of others. My voice just opened. And after the jam was done, everyone just sat in silence for 10 minutes. And we all just looked at each other. What just happened? And people were in tears and just moved. And everybody was like, Ellie, because I wasn't going by my artist name Arkaya yet. And everybody was like, Ellie, what was that?
Hi everyone, welcome back to Zen and Now. Today's guest is Akaya Sound, a recording artist, sound healer, and holistic voice coach. Her journey is all about reclaiming the voice, not just as sound, but as a path to healing. In this conversation, we dive into music, emotion, embodiment, and the power of speaking and singing your truth. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here.
You're welcome. I think, yes, we've met for our listeners and viewers. We actually met once, but Akaya was actually our voice coach, voice therapy healer, so to speak, at a place called Othership, which is a immersive sauna and cold bath experience. And when we were going through that experience and Akaya was performing or conducting the session, something just felt right. And it just felt like calm. And I mentioned to her that the reason why I'm there is to push through uncomfortableness. Mm-hmm. And you made it very easy to do so. So thank you for that.
Yes, such an amazing space. So grateful for Othership to allow me to do my work. They call themselves a house of transformation, combining hot and cold. And as you said, offering experiences for people to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because stepping into your courage, that's how we step into transformation. And they've just been like, whatever you want to do, girl. I'm like, yeah. So I make people sing. I invite people to sing with me. We go through medicine songs, voice activations. So yeah, such a beautiful space to be able to come and share what I love so most every single week. So thank you to Othership.
If you are in a vicinity that does offer Othership, guys, please make sure that you check it out. You definitely won't go wrong, and I'm sure you'll return, over and over and over.
Absolutely.
So Akaya, can you take us back to the beginning? What first drew you to music and sound? Was it from an early age?
I don't remember a time where it was not my reason for being.
Okay.
Even as a child, my mom used to get worried because as I would eat, I would hum. And it's so funny that the two things that I'm most passionate about today are food and music. And so even back then, as I was nursing, I would be humming and mom would be like, well, if she's humming, that means her throat is open. We need to get
Yeah.
this girl to stop making sounds while she's eating. And then, you start to progress into language. And so I would sing about whatever was around me. So I'd be singing about the trees and the cars passing and the cows in the field. And no matter what my parents did, it just kind of didn't stop. And so, well, my parents didn't quite know where I would end up with it. They knew that obviously I was meant to sing. I had this innate wanting and needing to express myself in this way. And so they put me into the Royal Canadian Classical Conservatory. So that was my first form of education. And I was with them for 7 years while I was growing up, and just got such a gorgeous, gorgeous foundation for my voice that I have today. What I do now is so different from that. But yeah, always. Voice
Amazing.
has always been part of me.
Yeah. I think sometimes the voice is suppressed in a way where you don't really actually express how you feel. And I think what you're doing and with your practice is trying to just allow people to get it out, get it off their chest.
Absolutely.
Whether it be through song or voice or even just a cry, it's something that comes out of you and you get to then release that emotion. So
That's exactly it.
yeah. And I think what you're doing is so important in this day and age where we're running such a rat race and everything is so quick. We have information at our fingertips. We're going through experiences at the rate of knots. We need that outlet just to release. And I think one of the journeys or one of the mediums is voice. So it's important for that to know people that you can count on, that can guide you through that, because it's not easy. You can sit and scream and stuff, but why are you doing it? I think that's what I felt when I was with you, is why I was doing it. And you guided us through such a very, very emotionally calm, I would say.
Emotionally calm.
Yeah.
I love that because it's very emotional, right?
Yeah.
When you're talking about the voice, we often say in my line of work that the voice is the direct representation of the inner world. So whatever is happening inside, you'll hear it in the voice, right? Whether somebody stutters, speaks loudly, the cadence of their speech. But we also say that your ability to express yourself directly represents your soul's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're unable to express, then there's something inside yourself that you have maybe yet to accept or maybe yet to acknowledge or to work through or process. And so working with the voice is a direct way to heal and alchemize anything that's going on inside. And when we think about today's environment, and you talked about the importance of it today, not only is it this rat race that you spoke about and the stresses of today, mm-hmm. but it's also the social media. It's also, we have such a narrow view now of what the voice is even supposed to be, what's considered acceptable. But for thousands of years, if you look at all the different spaces of voice around the world, it is so, so different. Mm-hmm. And so now we have an even smaller box that we're trying to fit ourselves into. And the reality is we're not here to fit into a box.
No.
We're not here to fit into a box. And so when we think about voice work, as you said, it's so much more than singing. Voice is every sound that can possibly come out of your mouth. And every sound itself carries its own vibration, its own frequency. It touches different points of our emotional state, our energetic state, our physical state. And so it's not about making something that sounds beautiful all the time. Of course, it's amazing to hear something beautiful, but how is it connecting to that inner world? How is it connecting to that soul and allowing it to have space to be free?
Yeah. I mean, music for me is part of that. It's part of my release. When I'm feeling down, I'll just put on my genre of music or something that I felt brings me back to my present. I'll start listening to music, or even if you're not in that space to listen to music, somehow the sound brings you back full circle back to where you thought you were, and everything else is forgotten. So I think sound is a great medium for healing, as much as we do meditation and silence. Whatever medium that people are is helping them. I think one of the avenues that we forget is sound.
And it's so interesting that we forget it because we know that we live in a vibrational world.
Yeah.
one of my favorite quotes is, "A rock is frozen sound."
That's awesome.
And it's the idea that, yes, everything is made of sound because everything's made of vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about healing, the fact that for so long we've forgotten that we are sound, we are vibration. So why are we not bringing this into the forefront? It's becoming much more popular now. Now in almost every major city, you can find a sound bath, which is incredible. But my mission is to go one step beyond that, not just to have sound kind of done to us as it happens when we're listening to music or we're in sound bath, sound is happening to us in a sense.
Yeah.
My mission is, how do we become part of sound? We have sound in us through our voice. That for me is the deepest form of vibrational and sound healing that we can get to, because we can then bring it on the inside, and it's going to always directly represent where we're at. We're always going to meet ourselves where we're at whenever we're working with our voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so with my work with my voice codes, which is my coaching program, my temple, which we can talk more about as we go on here, it's about creating opportunities for people to step into their own vibration for their own healing.
Right. I mean, think about, we come out of the womb crying.
Exactly.
Sound.
Exactly. There's two schools of thought there. Some people say that we come out crying because, we're like, oh, we're here again.
Yeah.
If you believe in the cycle of, of coming into this life many, many, many times. I choose to think of it as a sound of celebration. We're like,
yes.
the human experience, we've made it.
Let's go.
Yes.
So coming back to, why was sound so personal to your healing journey?
I think for me, it really became present when I realized that I had stopped singing. So I was going through my early 20s. I just moved to Toronto, came down here with the intention to be a recording artist.
Mm-hmm.
Moved to Toronto, live the big dream. And once I got here, I got so caught up, I think, in just the day-to-day of survival. But I also recognized that there was so much trauma that I had not dealt with from my high school years. And so much of that had to do with my expression. I had the belief system at the time that being seen and heard meant being hurt.
Oh, wow.
If I shared who I was going to be attacked, because I had that experience of bringing myself in front of others through my voice, through my music, and being ridiculed. There's a story that I remember from grade 6. This was in junior high school. I wanted to bring something I loved to the talent show, which was musical theater. And there's this amazing song in Charlie Brown the Musical where Snoopy is singing and he's sitting on top of his little doghouse. And I love the song because it goes through all these different emotions. He starts with loving the beautiful sky, and then he gets an itch. And then he's going through the anger of the itch and then coming back out to just peace on the other side. And I loved the range of emotion that the song explored. And to me, it was fun. It was silly. And so I brought it to stage. And for the rest of the year, people would bark at me when I walked down the school hallways.
Oh, no.
And it was not done in a way of support.
Yeah.
It was done.
It's ridicule.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, oh, it's not safe, right? Until this time, I could express myself always and felt a sense of safety and celebration. But that was the first memory that I had of being like, oh, maybe it's actually not safe to express myself anymore. And then I found between grade 6 and grade 12, that just kind of kept happening. And I found myself so confused as to why? Why am I, I know I'm meant to sing. That's why I'm here. I know it so deeply. Yeah. So I moved to Toronto thinking I could, run away from all those problems and start again, big city, start again. And instead of that, I ended up just being very depressed and falling into alcoholism. And moving through that was one of the most challenging but rewarding experiences of my life. And one of the things that stayed with me, despite how I might have been feeling at that time, was yoga. And so I felt, well, if I could do one positive thing for myself every single day, let it at least be yoga.
Yeah.
And so the more I dove into the world of yoga, I realized it was so much more than the movements that I had been doing. there's many, many different parts of yoga, and there's one that's called Nada Yoga, which means union through sound. And so I started kind of tumbling into this world of sound as healing and using your voice in prayer and in mantra. And my world just cracked open. It felt like I'd find like the secret keys of existence in some way. I was like, oh, this is it. And so I spent 5 years just practicing with me, myself, and I in my own home, in my own space, not singing in front of anyone, and just really honing into my craft and completely redeveloping my own understanding of why I even had a voice.
Yeah.
You know, why did I have a voice? I thought before it was to be on stage, to be seen, to be celebrated, to be adored. And I was like, oh no, my voice is actually a way to come home to myself, a way to understand who I am, a way to release energy, emotion. And when I sang again for the first time, this was really only 4 years ago, I sang for the first time again in front of others. We were in Costa Rica. We were down there for a music festival, and we were just doing this beautiful jam on this open air patio overlooking the jungle. And I'd been wanting to be friends. So these were like the cool kids of wellness. And I was like, oh man, like, wouldn't it be so cool if I could be part of this cool kid group? Because I'd never been the cool kid. And I was invited to come to this jam, and I was nervous and I was anxious. And my voice just opened. And after the jam was done, everyone just sat in silence for 10 minutes. And we all just looked at each other. What just happened? And people were in tears and just like moved. And everybody was like, Ellie, because I wasn't going by my artist name Arkaya yet. And everybody was like, Ellie, what was that? And I was like, I don't even know. I don't even and it was just like I had never even heard my voice in that way.
It's like a combination of everything that was suppressed just came out at one time.
Came out. And that was the first time that I'd ever heard somebody saying opening a portal. They're like, you opened a portal. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I'm glad I did. So I was like, okay, what does this mean? That I can open portals. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. What does it mean for me to be able to create these experiences for people to have transcendence, for people to feel like they've been time traveling, for people to feel like they've met past ancestors, which is all information that people were telling me after this experience.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. And I was like, what? I was like, you were experiencing that? What?
So you've taken them like from where they were to an alternate universe where they were tapping into their other, or something deeper than they actually were prepared for.
Exactly. And I wasn't prepared. They weren't prepared for it. And we all were just blown away. And that was the moment where I was like, oh, this is what my voice is for. This is why I have this gift, is to actually create experiences like this, for people to be able to dive in to whatever you want to call it, higher self, higher consciousness, alternate dimensions, whatever it might be. And I was just hooked.
Yes.
Hooked. That was it.
Nice. Something that you said about high school, and also something that happened to me. I mean, high school wasn't a very pleasant time for me as well. Ridiculed every single day, bullied, name called, and all of those things. And it was just because when I went from primary school to high school, I was prior to high school, I was full of confidence. In my sport, in my activities, everything, I was very confident. I knew who I was, what was I about. And when I got to high school as well, there was a moment and everything just fell apart. I couldn't express myself in a way that I wanted to because I was too fearful of, like you said, the ridicule. Yeah. Because if it comes across as, how would you say this? You're too afraid to say, don't say this to me, it's not right, without there being any physical threat to you in a way. But thankfully, I had an outlet, which was sports. I think that was my saving grace, where I expressed most of my emotions out there. and I was free. Nobody ridiculed me. Nobody, put me down, and I was able to at least manage my anxieties away from school in that space or that arena. And when I came back to school, it was a cycle. And the day school ended and I stepped into university, my life kicked off again. But I'd look back at now at that period of life where I know, okay, what I went through was all part of the journey.
Yeah.
For me to actually now say, right, that part is done with your life. Till today, I still have to deal with a few things, which is it's still the feelings still come up now and then, and I still dream about still parts of high school that I probably never dealt with, which I probably need to actually dive deeper into, and maybe I have to, maybe I don't, but I'm okay now with who I am right now. And like you said, when you had that moment when your voice opened, mine was later on in life, about maybe 5 years ago, when actually I had to be institutionalized to go through that process and then come out of that. And then that's when my voice opened. So I had to go through the depths to actually find my voice. And like you said, there's just that moment in time when you feel, okay, this is what I need to do. And hence why I started the podcast, is because I needed to voice myself in this way that can help other people. So I think our stories resonate on the same frequency, just different experiences.
Different experiences, for sure. And thank you for sharing that story. I think it's so important to acknowledge what you have gone through and what others go through. And we're not alone. The fact that our stories are similar just shows how many more are out there.
Exactly.
And so it's so special that we get to be here and express in this way. And the only thing that we can do is show up as who we are.
Yeah.
And share our story authentically, boldly, bravely, vulnerably, and hope that it touches somebody somewhere.
Yeah.
So you're doing it.
So are you.
You're doing it.
Yeah. But it's important that we have these discussions. I was always an advocate for self-love and healing. Just never knew how to tap into it. And a lot of my friends now and peers or colleagues and family are they're kind of trying to figure out where they fit into the world, or what is their purpose. And people ask me, how did you do it? I'm like, I had to go through some rough stuff.
You have to go through the shit.
Get there. Yeah.
You got to, know, it's just part of it. I don't know a single person that has just been born and been in their purpose directly. But I think it all gives us the skills. If I didn't go through what I went through in my high school experience, I wouldn't have the empathy. I wouldn't have the compassion. I wouldn't have the ability to hold space, because part of my mission is to create a new world, a new earth where no one has to feel like that.
Yeah.
Create community and culture where no matter your past experience, that here you're safe. Here it's safe to be you, as you, to come express in whatever way that expression is, even if it's beyond the voice, and how you dress and how you move. That safety is so important. That's the basis of all growth, of all transformation, is making that safe place first. From there, we can step into our courage. From that courage, we can find our truth, and so everything kind of starts from there.
Bravery too. You have to be brave.
Yes.
You have to want it.
Yes.
And stick with it.
Absolutely.
Because it's easy to give up. It's easy to throw in the towel. Having lost a couple of friends to suicide, I know what that feels like. I myself was there too once upon a time. Never actually actioned anything, but just the thought of it was there. So when they went through with it, it really resonated with me of why we need to, especially from a brown Indian person, a brown Indian male perspective, because it's very still discriminated against to speak up how you feel in a way, because we still have societies who are still stuck in archaic practices, and we need to break generational practices for us to actually now blossom. But I feel the progression of where we were, say maybe 10, 15 years ago, I think it's leaps and bounds now of where both our human form and spiritual forms are, because we're not just accepting of what was preached to us. We're asking the question why.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's no why, that's when you kind of land up, hey, but you said this works, why it doesn't work anymore? You can't give me a definitive answer why. So I think the curiosity is at an elevated level now.
So interesting you say that, because curiosity is one of the key values that I have in my work that I do. It's like staying curious. I don't have all the answers. I'm not here to give you the answers. I'm here to make space for you to find your answers through those things we've been talking about, like bravery, curiosity, courage, truth. It's up to us to step into that space. No one else can step into that for us.
Yeah, no, you've got to do that for yourself.
Absolutely.
I've always advocated that in my message across this timeline. I can take you to the water. How you drink, it's up to you. I can hold your hand. I can guide you. I can put you on the path. Once you start taking that first steps, it's up to you. Just like how I was done. Somebody guided me, and I then started to run with it and figured out things didn't work. Things worked. Frustrated. Thoughts of giving up. Why am I doing this? All came up. Everything came up. But I was true to my passion of what I want to do in life. And I feel somebody asked me today. I always do a check-in with my friends now and then. Just, hi, how are you doing? Just checking in. That's simple. And my friend asked me, how am I doing? And I put a gif of, Patrick from SpongeBob.
Okay, yeah.
Like sitting zen with incense sticks. So that's how I'm feeling right now. It's like, oh, okay. That's my current space right now. I don't know what it's going to be like tomorrow, but right now that's what it feels like. So we have to acknowledge how we feel right now, because we can't really tell what the future holds. And then the past is the past. We can process it, but we have to acknowledge it and move on to try and just be better versions of ourselves.
I love that you say that, and that's so, so, so important. And that's actually one of the reasons why I stepped into, especially the coaching work that I do, because I found that the way that music was taught to me, it was all about trying to actually be something else, try to sing this song in this perfect way that was decided by somebody else. And then the level of depression or the level of anger or self-judgment that I would have if I couldn't be like what they told me I was supposed to be or sound like I was supposed to be, just really ruined part of my artist soul.
Yeah.
And so my programming that I offer now, called Voice Codes, which is my holistic coaching method, is all about coming to present in the moment. So the first thing you do every day, I have these big, beautiful charts that showcase how energy moves in the body and how different sounds and vowels and words all connect with the different energetic bodies. But you start every day by doing an assessment of your emotional and energetic body. And you just say, hey, with no judgment, what is present right now? And, that can be anything from something joyful, but most of the time when we're talking about, sound healing and alchemizing, we're focusing more on the things that might feel out of balance. And so you can take a look at maybe feeling like, I'm really having trouble making decisions today, or like sticking to decisions. Okay, we might need to do some work, up in the more cerebral realms. Or, I'm feeling really insecure today. I'm just feeling really ungrounded. And so it's like, okay, we need to do some work in the lower somatic body realms.
Right.
And then your voice practice is directly informed by how you're feeling. So using the specific frequencies or the vowels that connect to those different energetic centers, so that we can just be present with where we're at all the time. And that work has been so transformative for me, for any of my students that I've worked with, because now not only are you working on your voice in a holistic way, you're actually your own sound healer every morning. And we can have every excuse under the sun to not practice. I'm tired, I'm this, I'm that, my head's full, whatever. The amazing thing about this practice is it's always a practice of self-love. It's always a practice of self-acceptance and a way to come home to yourself through your voice. It's a form of vocal yoga.
Yeah.
where it's all about like, okay, do I need to like stretch out and chill out today and rest and restore my body? We got to voice practice for that. Is today a day where I really need to like build some inner fire because maybe I have a big task coming up that I need some energy to help overcome? We got to practice for that. And so it's been such a joy to be able to develop this methodology. Because again, I couldn't find anything out there like that, that blends this realm of both my classical training background, but also all the work that I've done in the spiritual and energetic space. So it's been such a gift to be able to see that, not just work with myself, but now actively work with others. They're loving it and it's like changing their lives. And I'm just like I'm so blown away all the time.
That's what it's about, right? Changing someone's life for the better.
Yes.
You're not doing it for them. They actually the ones doing the work. You're just a facilitator in that way. You're giving them the tools to be the best versions of themselves.
Yes.
In that way. I think people, sometimes people forget that, like yourself, when we come to like practitioners like yourself, that you're going to fix us. No, it's more about, because that's what happened to me in the initial stages when I first started being introduced to yoga, meditation, the mindfulness side of things. I thought, okay, I'm going to go for, say, hypnotherapy, and I'll be fixed like that. Because I just wanted to be normal again, but as quick as possible. Because patience is not one of my was not part of my strong points. I am getting better at it, but like you said, coming back to your point, people are taking your information into themselves, not thinking, oh, I'm doing work for myself. I'm self-loving myself right now. And after that, like you said, when we go through these journeys, when the light bulb comes on, only then do you start to put things in perspective that, hey, I did this myself. Mm-hmm. I'm at a level where I am strong enough to go through whatever life throws at me, and I can come through the other side with my head held high and say, okay, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. Because, and I did this.
Yeah, not the person that facilitated you, not your family, not your friends, not your colleagues, not everybody, me. Mm-hmm. And it's not a selfish thing to say me. No. Because if we can't be me, how can I be me for you? So to speak.
Absolutely.
So I commend what you're doing. It's awesome. And sound is something that we take for granted all the time. I mean, think about something I want to share with you is so I'm from South Africa, and in South Africa, we have the birds. We have a bird called the hadida. I'm not sure what you call it how to describe it in other terms, but it's a bird that makes this ka sound. It's kaka all the time. But when you're living there, it's annoying. It's like, please. And early morning, every morning, without fail, it will be there to wake you up. And when we got to Toronto, after a period of time, we missed that. So when we returned, just post-COVID in year 2021, and we heard the sound for the first time, we were like relieved. Yeah. And we missed that.
Yeah.
Sound.
I have a similar story. I was working in Jordan in the Middle East during the first year of COVID in 2021. And we were next door to a mosque. And when I first arrived, this prayer woke me up every morning. And I was so frustrated at this sound. And of course, by the end of the time that you're there, I was there for just over 6 months, it became part of your life. And I started to realize that at that moment, all across the country, every person for a moment connected, right? Whether it's the subconscious or conscious, because we're all hearing this prayer at exactly the same time. And for a moment, taking a moment to breathe and remember, right? Mm-hmm. That is powerful. That is powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. And when I came back to Toronto, I missed it. I missed it so much. I was like, oh my gosh. And so bringing prayer back into my life has been something I did as a direct result of that. Because
Yeah.
I was like, wow, so important to have those moments to begin and end the day in reflection. And so I thought I had like prayed in the past before. I grew up in church, and so I thought I knew what prayer was. But it actually wasn't until I came back from that experience in Jordan and started to explore prayer really in my own life again, and in my own way, right? In what makes sense to me,
Yeah,
which
for
is
sure, for
which
sure.
is not me, particularly praising any god or deity. It's just honestly gratitude.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
just gratitude. It's just like thanking the sun, thanking the moon, thanking my guides, thanking my ancestors, my friends, my family, my gifts. And that was a direct result of that experience of the sound and this music from when I was in Jordan.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break.
Your support goes a long way. Remember to hit that like button, share this episode, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Merci. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because similar sounds, what do you say? They make you feel comfortable. They make you feel at ease and peace. And there's certain sounds where you have to go and, probably exercise your right to be uncomfortable, to understand, okay, why is it making me uncomfortable at the time? And then come back and say, right, let me kind of jot down why I was feeling that way when I heard this. Because for me, like, nails on a chalkboard, I cannot, or something that
I think anybody can take that. I think, it's literal vibration hitting your ears, right? And so it's on a physical level, sound can be absolutely uncomfortable. But we also have the other side of sound, which is emotionally uncomfortable, which is when we're faced with something that is unfamiliar to us. Naturally, we're not going to resonate with something unfamiliar. Right? And this is why the voice work that I do is so important, because so much of what I do is actually familiarizing you with the full capacity, right? Not just the westernized, this is what's supposed to sound right, this is what harmony means. But what if we really go completely outside the idea of what sounds nice or familiar? And I have seen students just blossom once we go into that space of letting go of what's supposed to sound good and actually getting uncomfortable, right? We've talked about this a couple times now, getting uncomfortable in their sounds that they're projecting, and then actually kind of finding that they like some of them.
Exactly.
But it takes that moment of being willing to, again, step into that bravery, to step into that courage. And you go, oh, this is a part of me. Oh, this is a sound that I resonate with. Ooh, this makes my voice go really, really high. Interesting. So it's such a beautiful game to get to hold space for people to be able to step into that for themselves and surprise themselves.
Yeah. So guys, in the comment section, I'd love to know what sound makes you uncomfortable. Let's share. Let's see where we are, and it'll be a fun game. So drop your uncomfortable sounds in the comments. Let's see where people are at. But no, coming back to Akaya. Why Akaya?
So Arkaya comes from Sanskrit, and there's many, many names for the sun in Sanskrit. But specifically, if you're looking at like planetary names, right? Ones that connect to the different planets and all the different astrological cycles, there's 12 names for the sun. And Arkaya specifically speaks to the point or part of the sun that's about the healing quality. So healing through light. And my birth name, my ancestral name is what I call it. My ancestral birth name is Roberta. That comes from my mom, my grandfather, right? So it's my ancestral lineage. Robert, Roberta is my lineage. But very quickly, my parents at the time were like, oh no, she's not a Roberta. What do we do? And so they started calling me by the nickname of my third name. My third name is Ellen. So I've been known as Ellie. When I've been in trouble, Ellen. Roberta means like brilliant light, like a light that cannot be ignored. Roberta means God's light. And when Arkaya came to me, and I didn't choose it, I really feel like it chose me. I was actually singing. I was in a session and we were singing mantra, and I went to the guide afterwards who was guiding the kirtan, and I said, "What is Arkaya?" And she looked at me and she said, "Maybe it's your name." And I was like, "Oh." And so I came home and I looked it up. And this was right when I was coming back into the world again. This is very, very shortly after that big moment in Costa Rica that I was telling you about. And healing through light. And I was like, whoa. And so in a sense, I was like, this is my name. Because my name has always meant light. Always. And so I was like, this is just another form. This is just another form of the same name that I've always had. But now it's helping me to embody this next chapter of my life, which is allowing my light to become a healing force. I always say that, I'm not really a healer, right? We use the term sound healer, right? Voice healer, all this stuff. But when I really get into it, I'm like, well, I'm not actually a healer. What I do is I heal myself.
Yes.
And through my light then becomes healing. And so Arkaya is that essence.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so strange to think about your rebirth. I think of it as rebirth.
Of course.
You take on another name when you're born again.
Yes.
Hence why, I always had the nickname. So my nickname is Buddha, because when I was very little, when I was born, I was quite a big baby, and I was sitting on the bed, and my aunt walked past, and I used to have those those Michelin Man rolls.
Yes.
But I had like this essence of a Buddha, and so that's how that has been my nickname since I can remember.
Wow.
So it's always stuck with me from day one. Hence why my brand, everything I do is centered around that presence.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm quite skinny now, because of all the sports and activity and all the baby fat is gone. But that essence is something that's me. And I've kept that with me throughout my life. Hence, I thought it's a good idea. Okay, when I came out of this rebirth, like out of the trenches, what can I do? What can I align myself to? To get my message across. Hence why I started Buddha Knows and Zen and Now, is because they all tie together. So hence why, similar to yourself, Akaya, it was something that is meant for you.
Yeah.
Without knowing it.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. Yes.
So, but thank you for sharing that. That's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Amazing. Partnerships. What does partnerships mean for you? And collaboration.
Ooh. Partnership and collaboration for me today is twofold. One is, who do I become when I'm around you? What do you bring out in me? I think it's so important that in our partnerships and collaboration, we're able to see ourselves in a new lens. And hopefully that new lens is something that helps you step into, the higher parts of yourself, And so partnership and collaboration, the first thing I think of always is, how do I feel when I'm around you? Do I feel like I can step into a higher version of me, or is this collaboration bringing out a lower version of me? And what I mean by that is, am I able to hold space, right? Am I able to think differently? Am I able to respond to things in the ways that I'm proud of? While other partnerships, sometimes I'll notice that I respond in ways that I'm not proud of. I'll be like, wow, I was short, I was grumpy, I was mean, whoa, why am I responding in this way? And that simply comes down to the idea that each of us has our own frequency and resonance.
Right.
And there's something in sound called resonance and dissonance. And so dissonance is when there's two frequencies that are not matching. And so it's, even though maybe theoretically you two might do very, very well together, there is something about the core resonance of our souls. And I know immediately when I have those people, and they're very far and few between. There's a lot of people that I partner with and collaborate with, but there's a group that I lovingly call my Galactic Council. And those are my people that are my deepest and truest collaborators. Those are people who know me inside and out in every way. And there's something about their presence that all they need to do is walk into a room. And for some reason, I'm like, oh, Like I can just breathe deeper. I can
Nice.
speak better. I just kind of amplify. They're like a battery and they just amplify me. And so that's a big part of partnership and collaboration for me. And then the idea is that it's the reverse for them as well. Is there something about me and what I bring to the table that allow them to step into a higher version of themselves? And so if we have that, right, if we're constantly learning and we're constantly up leveling and we're willing to have hard conversations and answer hard questions, but do that in love, from there we go, okay, what can we make together? And so for me, it's less about finding something that needs to be made and then finding the people for it, but it's more of finding the people and then finding out, okay, what do we have in common? Our souls are clearly interconnected. So what do we have in common? What can we create together based off of this interaction and how we make each other feel? And so everything I've built today has actually come from this way. It starts with a feeling first. How do I feel around this individual? How do they feel around me? And if we both feel friggin' awesome, then it's like, okay, what
Let's
can
go.
we do with this feeling? What can we do with this? You know?
Yeah.
And that then comes into the idea of creation.
Right. It's just a personal question. When I reached out to you with this invitation, how did that make you feel?
Excited.
Okay.
Just excited. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I always think it's helpful when people experience me directly. People will ask, what, Arkaya, what do you do? Ellie, what do you do? What is voice alchemy? What is voice-led music therapy? You know, in different realms, sometimes they call me a sonic priestess and they're like, what's a sonic priestess? You know, like what is all this stuff? And it can be very difficult to help people understand what I do because it is really a felt thing.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard to put to words the actual work that I do without, you know, a lengthy conversation like we have today. So I've had people reach out to talk about my work in the past, and it didn't quite feel right because even the questions that they had sent to me about what they wanted to speak about, it wasn't in connection with what I wanted to share.
Yeah.
The fact that you had come to my class, right, had come to experience me guiding and said, I want to talk about this. That's that resonance that I'm talking about, right? We were in the same room as people, as humans, and went, there's something here. I'm curious, right?
Yeah.
There's something here that I need to know more about. I want to dive more into. So the fact that you experienced me directly and then were curious, I was like, yes, I'm excited for that conversation. Let's go deeper.
Cool. Because I'm always, when you reach out to some people, you don't know what the reaction is going to be like. And I struggled with that for a long time, with rejection. And now I'm at a space where, okay, it's okay. My thought is genuine, you know, and if you don't resonate with me, it's okay, no problem, because we don't resonate with everyone ourselves, so we can't expect everyone to resonate with us.
If we did, we would be so overwhelmed and exhausted. And this is what I'd like to remind people all the time when they come to work with me. If everyone resonated with who you are and what you do, you would be overwhelmed and exhausted because it would be way, 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 way too much energy coming your way. And so it's actually about being brave enough to put ourselves out there so that there are the people that say, no, that's not for me. And I would say, perfect, more for them, right? And so important to understand that.
Yeah. But it also comes down to the work that you do behind the scenes.
Everything comes down to that. Ultimately, everything comes down to the work that you do behind the scenes.
Yeah. Soul expansion.
Yes.
Can you give us a little bit of a description of what soul expansion is?
So soul expansion is a live concert and breathwork experience. It was founded by two very dear friends of mine, Freddie and Stella. They're incredible facilitators here in Toronto, and they asked me to come in and be part of it. They actually asked me at my wedding, which was like so special. And what they were looking for was to bring in another added element to the live concert experience of this idea of voice channeling, right? There's just something, the voice, because everybody has a voice, the voice will just connect to all of us. in such a deeper way that I think any other instrument cannot provide, because we have a voice, right? We have a voice within us. And so they asked me to come and be part of that. And so I've been part of that band for, wow, almost a year now. And so we do these monthly breathwork experiences where it's all done with live music. And my specialty within that concert is to guide people in what's called collective singing or group vocal toning. And so we build harmonies in the room, and we become the music ourselves. And then I do beautiful singing over top. And then towards the end of the journey, I do something called a soundscape. And a soundscape is creating different textures with music and sound and voice to, again, have this element of kind of time travel, otherworldliness. And that's improvised each and every time. And so the energy of the room that day, the venue we're in, the day of the week it is, whether it's beautiful outside, all affects this work. And that's my favorite work to do, is actually improvised channeling work. And so that has been absolutely amazing. And that gave way for Arkaya's Temple, which is my birth, my baby.
Right.
And it's, again, this live concert experience. But instead, now the whole thing is focused on voice. And so the first half of the concert, everybody's singing, and we're doing call and response and chanting. And I have 4 other singers on stage with me. I have 5 live instrumentalists behind me. And the whole thing is channeled and improvised. And what I love about that is now it's really imprinting a moment. That moment will never happen again, ever, ever, ever in history, as long as humans live. That is once in a million lifetimes. And we record it and we turn it into an album. And the album, I just listened to it for the first time on Sunday night. Woo! Just wait, man. It blew my mind. I literally was falling on the floor, like screaming with how good it sounded. But we mic'd the whole room. So the audience, the 120 person audience, is also on this album. And what I love about this is it starts to separate the idea of like, I'm a performer and you're not. It's, we all have a birthright to our voice. Mm-hmm. Music has been ritual since the beginning of time. We have used it to connect, to share our histories, and it's gone. We don't have that in the Western culture. And so how can I bring this back in a way where it's like inner work meets entertainment, but it's also giving a sense of that power back to people, where they can look at that and be like, I was part of that. I created that, right? Because they say that the opposite of depression isn't happiness. Mm-mm. It's expression. It's creation. And so it's like, how can we invite people into creation? And so Arkaya's Temple is this insanely gorgeous concert experience where we invite people into creation with their voice. And Freddie actually sang with me. He was right beside me. And so it's really beautiful to have all these voices and all these instrumentalists who have been part of all these different kind of pocket sound experiences all over Toronto. There's kind of a collective of us right now, unofficial collective, but there is a collective of us right now. And get to bring something that is truly my own and my vision into the world and have them be part of it was just so incredible.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing. When does it drop?
So,
for the public? Yeah.
Yes, the album will be fully released by the end of August, but what we're going to do is called a drip release. And so we're going to be releasing one song at a time. And then we're pairing the music with some video that was taken from the event. And so people can really see this in action. So not the whole concert is being released. We're going in and choosing the best moments, right? The things that could be turned into a studio or an album worthy song. Because sometimes when you're in the experience and you're focusing on release, that's really not meant to be a recorded song, right? Yeah. There's part of the concert where we have the didgeridoo going. It's like boom, 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 and like these amazing drum bass, and then people are just going, right? And like, not really meant for something that translates into an album, but it's the experience of release, the experience of like alchemizing energy and vibration in the body. And so if it excites you, if you listen to this and you're like, whoa, because also remember, everything is improvised.
Yeah.
Everything is channeled. Everything is improvised, right? That's the magic, is you can then listen to this album and be like, oh my God, everything was created in the moment and it sounds insane. And so A, if this kind of work excites you, B, if you want to come to a future one, come let us know. We actually have a fundraiser that's going on right now. Because let's face it, it takes money to make these things happen.
For sure.
So that we can invest in the right pieces for the temple so that we can continue to do this. I'm very, very lucky that for our first couple of ones, people donated their time, people donated their equipment. But the reality is the growth of this project requires investments.
Yeah.
And so as a return for people who are interested in coming on board and being part of this community, it's really a community-led label. It's a community-led music group. I'm offering all of these sorts of one-to-one experiences. So I'll actually come anywhere in the GTA and offer a group experience for higher donors. And I'm doing these one-to-one 2-hour intensive sessions for some of our kind of mid-range donors. Okay. And then for the earlier donors, you get tickets to the future temple, artwork of the album. But it's all about inviting people in because, again, music and art is what shapes our culture and society. And right now, everything is dripping from the top, right? Media is telling us what it should be. It's decided by people that are not us. Mm-hmm. And so how can we flip the script? And so how can we make music, again, directly represent a community, a people, a time, a culture? Because it is a culture, right? If we're talking about the work that we do, spirituality, this modern spirituality, it is a culture. It is 100%. A community. Yeah. And so inviting people to kind of put their money where their mouth is, right? Every vote, every dollar is a vote. And so it's like, if you want a world where artists are supported, if you want a world where music is about healing and connection, if you want a world where all of us can step into our expression, into our voice, into our creation in this way, we need support. And so that's a big part of what Arkaya's Temple is all about as well, is actually normalizing the idea of investing into our arts and culture again, because it has not been invested in for a very, very, very long time, not on this bottom grassroots level.
For sure. How can I use my platforms to actually get those resources out? Is there a link or something?
Oh yeah, I can share all of the links with you. Absolutely. Okay. The best way for people to follow along right now is following me on Instagram at Akaya Sound. I do all of my updates on there. We will be launching Arkaya's Temple Instagram shortly and a website. It will be on Spotify, so Arkaya's Temple will be its own Spotify name.
Okay.
I have my own Arkaya as well, which is just a different field. Yeah. Arkaya's Temple is specifically about celebrating sound, celebrating voice. So we have different vocalists that are coming on there, different features, and it's not about me. It's not about me and my voice. Yes, I'm prevalent on the album as the lead voice and the lead facilitator, but it's not about me putting my voice out into the world. It's actually about the space that we've created together and the music that we've created together. So Arkaya's Temple will be on Spotify shortly, and then follow Spotify. That's the best thing that you can do. Share that music out. Yeah.
Amazing. Yes, and I will leave once those links are provided, I will leave them in the description below. Please check them out.
Thank you.
Please support Akaya's journey. And if this sound is something that you're into, it probably will resonate with you on a deeper level.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, social media. I have a hashtag for you. Call it, you said, inner work versus and entertainment. Let's call it entertainment.
Entertainment. I love it. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write that down as soon as we're done here. Yes. Entertainment. I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, just something I thought of. Okay, yeah. Hashtag it. You can TM it. You can trademark it. Have it.
Yeah, entertainment. I love it. I'll have to share it with Freddie, because Freddie's also a big founder of Soul Expansion. He's the one that together we're really talking about this idea of inner work meets entertainment. It's a phrase and a lingo that him and I use all the time together. So it only feels right for me to share that with him.
Yeah,
but I will definitely share that along. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Sound and service obviously goes hand in hand. I know this is part of service as well.
Yeah.
How do you stay grounded? I mean, there's a lot that you give out. How do you yourself take care of you?
Well, the first is doing my own practice, right? It's practicing what I preach.
Okay.
And I do that by every morning I start in yoga. I start with chanting. I start with prayer. I pray every morning. I do card pulls for those who know what that is.
I do.
But it's different ways to talk, with your guides, with yourself, with your consciousness. And so it's always about acknowledging where I'm at right now, right? And figuring out, okay, what do I need to do for myself today? Because my energy is all I have. It's really the only thing I have at the end of the day. And so staying grounded for me means caring for myself, making sure I'm sleeping, making sure I have amazing, fresh, organic food in the fridge, making sure I'm doing my practice, going out to see friends, being in the sunshine. Just yesterday, middle of a Monday, or was it Tuesday? What day are we? Are we Tuesday? So in the middle of a Monday, I have a work day. I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend 2 hours this afternoon. I walked down to the Toronto Music Garden. I took my shoes off and I just sat in the grass and I talked to my mom and my sister for an hour and a half and just looked at the boats. And I was like, perfect. So grounding is family, grounding is nature, grounding is music, my friends are a really big part of my grounding. I have an incredible, incredible friend network, and we love to get together and just do the work. It's funny, like we have mini retreats every weekend. We get together and somebody does a gong bath and like somebody else is doing some breath work. And then like we bring this new instrument, we play this instrument together, and it's really just living what I preach.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I stop living what I preach, my energy just completely deflates. I get sick. And so it's really just being true to my belief system and true to myself, and making sure that I am taking the time to calibrate my energy, and making sure that I'm also continually advancing my skills, and finding new ways to speak about what I do, not letting that energy get stagnant.
Right.
Always finding, how can I say this in a different way? What is something else I can add to this? Again, who can I invite in as collaboration, as a partner, to even just like sit together and be in a studio for the day? One of the most grounding things I've done recently is connect with this amazing gentleman named Chris Assad, who does so much incredible, again, voice-led work in our community. And we just sat in his studio together and we just like made up lyrics while he was playing guitar, and we just went back and forth in a conversation, not to record it, right? Nothing like that, but just, again, to be in the practice with friends. And that was so incredibly grounding. Animal therapy is also big for me. Puppies, kitties, animals, anytime. I'm like, give it to me. Yeah. So that is a big, animals, people, friends, nature, music.
Yeah. So you're keeping your cup full most of the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we also, there's a practice that we do once a year. So the deity Hanuman. So there's a period of the year that we give thanks, or we preach the name Hanuman. So we say the Hanuman Chalisa 108 times.
Yes.
So we've grown up with that practice. But just the practice of saying thanks.
Yes.
We say Om
Yeah.
in the morning. My mom used to light the lamp in the morning, and we'd go and say our thanks, and just for protection for the day, chanting Om, so that we can just protect ourselves for the day, and ask the universe to protect us as well. But it came from sound.
Comes from sound.
Right.
I think it's so important when you talk about chanting, because yes, there's the spiritual side of chanting and the protection and what you could call the 5D realm, right? If you're familiar with that language.
Yeah.
But there's also a literal energetic protection, because as we sing, right, as we resonate, our body itself has what's called an electromagnetic field. And chanting changes your electromagnetic field. It can literally create a force that can hold other energies at bay. And so it's so much more than something that just happens, in the mindscape or in the emotionscape. When we chant, it literally comes into the physical field, which is so special when we start to realize that. And every morning I call it like putting up my force fields. I'm like, I'm just putting up my force fields, force fields engage, right? All that Star Trek stuff. I grew up with
yeah.
so much Star Trek fantasy. But it's my little nod to my mom and my dad in the morning, and I think about them, and I imagine putting up my force fields. And I do that through chanting.
Okay. Yeah. We take it for granted. We didn't understand it when we were little. Why are we doing these things?
Yeah.
Now we do, which is cool. It's quite cool, actually. And it's a practice that you can do any time of the day. It doesn't have to be in the morning. You can do it anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. That's what I say is that's the greatest joy about working with your voice. Anytime, anywhere, baby, you have it with you always.
Yeah.
Always, always, always. And sometimes the most simple sounds can be the most effective. You've talked about Om, right? But if you want to like break down what's actually happening with that in the physical
It's
body.
vibration. Yeah.
It's vibration, but the vibration speaks and touches different parts, right? So O is about like that down inner body experience where it's really touching your vagus nerve. Beautiful for that vagus nerve, which is that highway of emotion, of information in our body. So you're getting a vagus nerve vibration. Right? It's trapping the vibration in the mouth up into the head. It goes to touch that pineal gland, right? So that helps with our intuition. That helps with our ability to focus, to think clearly. And so these sounds, again, of course, have this amazing energetic realm, but it touches so much on the physical realm. By just going for 2 minutes, you will completely change your brainwave patterns. And you can come out on the other side of a 2-minute humming practice, totally shifted. Simple as sound, humming.
Yeah. Anxiety dissipates.
Exactly.
And you get to a space where you can cognitively then find a solution or, come out of any space that you're feeling anxious about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Always forget about it and be like, we've had it all within us all the time. We just forget to use it.
We always usually forget the things that are right in front of us, but that's okay. That's why I'm here.
Exactly. And now the listeners and viewers can take it on with them and hopefully then incorporate it into their practice. But no, thank you, Akaya. Thank you for taking out the time. But before we go,
yes,
if you could leave our listeners with one sound, truth, or word, what would it be?
What feels right for me today to say is that no matter what your voice sounds like, no matter what anybody has ever told you, that your voice doesn't matter, or your voice isn't beautiful, or you can't sing, none of that is truth. Every crack, every growl, every rasp is part of you. It's beautiful. And the most important thing is just to sing anyways, just to speak anyways. That is how you alchemize that energy. That's how you alchemize those memories into a place where you can become empowered again. It just takes one little step forward. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It just brings you to a nice space.
Yes.
But no, Kaya, for my listeners and the viewers out there, Kaya reminds us that voice is more than expression, it's connection.
Yes.
In her words, if her words resonated with you, sit with your breath, hum a little, or just listen inward. Healing will begin there. It often does. But thank you for being here on Zen and Now today. And until the next one, everybody, thank you so much and stay Zen. Thank you, Arkaya.
Thank you. Take care.